Mystery case. Hello. People often say you can't judge people by their appearance, and that's not wrong. There are people who have a rough appearance, but my heart is full of goodness. Some people are cold, but always quietly warm to the world. And there are also people who put on perfect looks, but the mind is unbelievably cruel and evil. Today we're going to talk about the murder of West Wilson. The strange thing about being arrested and put on trial. Not a few girls not only do not criticize, he also praised him for being handsome, even become a fan. Thousands of letters accompanied by provocative images were sent to just to show his admiration and plead with the court to commute his sentence. What really happened that year? This was a case that shocked the United States. In the 10th of July 2019, Ki.ll.er Police Department received an emergency call. The other end of the line is a male voice. He said that there's a psychopath storming into your print shop, screaming he just killed a man and needs to buy a train ticket to escape. At first he thought it was a joke, but when I saw that man's clothes were covered in blood, you understand that this is completely true. When the police arrive at the scene, madman who ran away leaving only a black car. The car's head has VA bumps and scratches. When opening the car door for inspection, the police officer found the car seat covered in blood. Through preliminary investigation, they identified the car as registered as Christian Martin. While a group of police officers tried to contact the other group, rushed to Martin's apartment to check on him. They walked into the house and were stunned by the horrible sight. Right in front of the bedroom door, the body of a woman with a deformed face. She has a big bruise, and my broken nails are lying in a pool of blood. Victim's body wrapped up in clothes and garbed. After the autopsy, the coroner identified the victim as Christian Martin. Born amateur 84. You live a single life, happy with family in a lean estate. According to police research, since childhood Melton has been loved by everyone. The beautiful appearance and active personality. A few years ago, she and her family moved to Corosef to live. Here she works as a waiter at a restaurant. Outside working hours, you often help your cousin take care of the child and take care of the sick mother. Mathan's brother shared that she was the backbone of the family. You're always strong and you never complain, no matter how difficult life is. Her relationship with the people around her is very good. You've never held a grudge against anyone. However, the traces on the body suggest, despite trying to resist, but she was brutally abused before she died. So what happened to Martin? The first suspect. When people are still confused, Cyrus, Martin's best friend, told me that about 10 o'clock the night before the crime, she and Methan went to a bar together. Mike Bucks to relax after work. Here, they met a handsome, tall man who came to talk to them. He introduced himself as a 25-year-old Jay. You don't just attract people with short hair, white skin, big eyes, hairy eyebrows, but also by a smile with dimpled cheeks, with tattoos on the neck and arms. With a height of 9 meters, body-toned tree has. He is considered the ideal boyfriend for many girls. Because you just stood out in appearance. It's funny and charming. You're both very excited to get to know such an interesting guy. Methan, in particular, was immediately fascinated. You feel like you've just met the god of your life. Go with Jay. A guy named Jackson is just as funny as he is. When the bar closes at 2 a.m., the whole group doesn't want to go back. So they decided to go to Jackson's house to continue the fun. I just went into my bedroom and I immediately got Jason married. And Cyrus don't want to bother. So I went to the After the conversation. Time goes by quickly. About an hour later, the Jackson family, for refusing to make noise, went out loud and scolded. Then Trier drove the girls to Martin's apartment at Coracate. Cyrus had to leave early to take her to school by 6 a.m. Before we left, she and Methan agreed to have dinner together, but no one thought that would be the last time they would meet. Based on Cyrus' description of his identity, police quickly identified the man who entered the store was Jer. They suspect he might be the killer. However, at 8:50 a.m. 7/10, the police department got another call. At the Mike Bucks Central parking lot, a couple is fighting furiously. A man doesn't just beat a woman, but tried to drag her into the car. When the police arrived where he'd fled, the woman who was assaulted was named Melissa. She told the police that the night before, she and her boyfriend went drinking at the bar. He took Theo to a friend and persuaded her to come over, but she refused. This makes him angry. He left her at the bar and drove her somewhere else. The next morning, her boyfriend came to the company where she worked to assault her, even strangled her. After a struggle, you can escape. At 3 p.m., the police found my boyfriend Lisa in a state of no clothes. Relax in your car. When asked to turn over the keys and get out of the car, he suddenly hit go running away. This man has fair skin, big eyes, toned body with tattoos on the body, very similar to the description. Special trade. He used to take his friends to the bar where Martin met Tree. It's known for its aggressive personality. Violence. Through investigation, the police identified him as West Wiesen, a young man only 25 years old. West, born 25th years, a ripe 94 at Magic Bucks, Florida, in a very special situation. His parents were teenagers at the time. They're not just incapable of raising you. And his mother was mentally ill and addicted to drugs. The father of West forced to send him to a better family to nourish. However, as opposed to the stories in the TV series about children being abused by foster parents, West grew up again in the boundless love of the Wilson family. They treated him like a son. We also regularly participate in at the church together. Childhood Webb is described as a fun, active boy. Loves sports and have excellent academic performance. But when I got to high school, I started to becoming change. More and more closed. Little communication and frequent fights. Not stop the Webb and essay into addiction. My classmates often talk behind my back. Is a crazy person who met her also hit. Wilson's family worried about West's loss of control. Sent him to psy addiction and psychiatric hospitals. But all efforts have been unsuccessful. Year Wed, 18 years old. I started seeing my biological parents often. Every time I asked for pocket money, his father felt guilty for not being able to raise him. So every time I do that, I give the Webb a lot of money. This makes him even more undisciplined and keep messing up. You've got a long criminal record, many times involved in criminal cases. He was arrested for theft in prison until September 2014. In 2015, he was arrested again for rape and kidnapping. Not guilty, but due to lack of evidence, the jury found him innocent. 3 years later, West was involved in Dennis' murder case. Dennis is accused of plotting to kill her husband. West was accused of falsifying evidence. The 19th of February 2019, West's ex-girlfriend accuses him of stealing computers. He also kidnapped and raped her. The court has issued a restraining order with watch. However, in the 7th of January 2019, he was arrested again for assault and a lot of other crimes like fighting, drug trafficking, and even participating in human trafficking cases. With such a strong criminal record, West quickly became the top suspect in Martin's case. More remarkable, at the time Martin was killed, West is still on probation. When the police came in for questioning, they found out he had run away. While the police are searching the entire city, at 10 p.m. the same day, Stephen's biological father called the police. He said West confessed to the murder over the phone. At first, Stephen didn't believe his son, but when he described the details of the case, you have to accept the truth. To stop the Webb from continuing to slide down the path of crime, Stephen decided to call the police. When West called back, he turned on the speakerphone so the police could hear him. In the call, the Webb proudly recounts every detail of the two murders he did in just one day. On the morning of October 7, 2019, while Mailton was sleeping, West strangled her to death. After killing her, he was going to bury her body, but the body was stiff and couldn't fit in the trunk. He left his body there, then drove the victim's car to find Melissa for revenge. After the argument the day before, after beating Melissa, he still can't satisfy the beast in him, so keep driving around. Right now, he met a middle-aged woman who was walking alone. When I see you alone, West has bad intentions. He pretended to ask for directions to trick her into getting in the car. Got in the car, West immediately strangled her and beat her violently. After a while, the woman fainted from the pain. West initially thought she was dead and decided to leave her body there. He found out she was still alive. He tortured her for a while and drove over that woman's body more than 10 times. To recall this horrific act, West startled everyone because attitude isn't just indifferent, even proud. He then asked Father Ben to call a car to help him escape. Stephen, father of Wales. Although initially hesitant, he eventually decided to cooperate with the police. Agree to cheat. Webb reveals location. Give information to the police quickly. It's a deserted house. When the task force arrives, Wit is sitting in the living room, sipping chicken feet and drinking, without showing any fear or remorse after killing 2 people. After catching Wake, the police took Methon Cyrus' best friend to the hospital. You confirm West was the one who showed up at the bar under a fake Tradia the night before. According to West's testimony, he killed 2 women in one day. In addition to Martin, the other victim was identified as China, a 48-year-old bartender. On the afternoon of October 7th, her family reported her missing to the police. In China, she is known to be a single mother. I just got engaged and have 2 sons, 19 years old and 29 years old. For 5 years working at the bar. China is always hard. I've never made enemies with AI. About 10 a.m. China is believed to be missing on the way to the bar. Sam's sport time and place. It matches with what we did. I told him on the phone with Stephen. After 3 days of searching, the police finally got a clue. A vulture was found loitering in the field near the James store. Make the authorities suspicious. To the scene, they were stunned. Found a body that's decomposing. It's so heavy it can't be identified. Through DNA testing and identify the blurry tattoo marks left on the back. Police confirm this is China. Surveillance footage near the scene also shows the carved mount appeared at the time of the case. Don't stop. The police found Diana's phone in the car of motion, along with the blood on the side of the car door. Later tests confirmed that this was Diana's blood. The 19th of October 2019, West has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, violence and theft. Although he was convicted and awaiting execution in prison. But the story doesn't stop. In the meantime, West kept messing around. 10 to 2020ths, with a 34-year-old Joseph. Planning a prison escape, he broke the prison window, trying to steal a car to escape. However, the plan was discovered and stopped in time. 2003 police find a grey bag near the prison. Inside are 2 sealed liquid cigarette cases, lighter drugs, and some other banned substances. A prisoner reveals Bobby, the 36-year-old, smuggled these items into prison, and Wed is the main person responsible for the distribution. Because of this act, the website was sentenced to 12 years in prison and fined $50,000. The above is not the most controversial. After the web's video trial was made public, many people are attracted to his appearance, photos and short videos of the fast-land transmission over the millions of views and attract tens of thousands of followers. They even nicknamed him the Deadpool Killer. It's the same name as the famous Deadpool. Some netizens have even said that the death penalty is unfair. The web is not worth it. What's even more shocking is fans are running a fund to help the web build a team of 5 reputable lawyers, professional and competent, who donated $150. Be entered into a draw to chat with the web. IS contribute over $1,000 to wear. In just a few days, this fund attracted hundreds of participants, and some individuals are willing to donate up to $24,000. The total amount raised after the campaign was $72,358. 5 years waiting for trial. The site received nearly 4,000 letters. There's a lot of sexy photos in there. There are 106 photos that are considered too provocative. So much so that the authorities refuse to accept it. Don't stop. Fans of the site also sent a letter to the judge. Please reduce the death penalty for him. Number of petitions with similar content. It also exceeded 26,000. Although the web is the soul of social networks, crime is crime. The departure of Martin and China, it shouldn't be the foundation for our reputation. Even West's biological father said there was a time when he wanted to help me escape. But when you think about it, he said that if the victims were mothers, your sister's daughter or your wife, you don't want anyone to do that to them. Situation check. Both of the victims could be special people for that AI. In the face of indisputable evidence, the moon still has a cold attitude. It's as if it's unrelated. In court, he was wearing a suit and a haircut, sitting on a chair with an arrogant appearance, and showed absolutely no remorse. He even spoke calmly. I'm neither a monster nor a saint, but I've made the wrong decision. But AI without making mistakes? 2 months later, after nearly 5 years of waiting, the case was finally heard. The judge called witnesses and presented a lot of important evidence. That includes phone recordings, DNA test reports and surveillance videos. After hours of discussion, the delegation of ministers voted to propose the death sentence with other crimes such as theft. Violent attacks are also tried and convicted. 4:30 p.m. to the 8th of July 2000, the judge sentenced West Wilson to death for 2 murders. Specifically according to the ruling, West Wilson has been sentenced to death for murder. Web time. The sentence will be added to the total time of execution, with all the sentences being carried out simultaneously. When the final verdict is announced, the victim's family couldn't contain their emotions. Some people started crying as soon as they were sentenced. They had to wait too long to see the moment justice is done. The killer was punished, but the wound in their hearts is forever, cannot be healed. The sparkling diamonds. It is known as the symbol of eternal love. They gave each other diamond rings to prove that love lasts forever. But in today's case, the diamonds became an important clue, exposing a string of horrific crimes. The story began in 2016 when Mrs. Mary Patel, the 9-year-old, is enjoying a peaceful life in Dallas. She and her husband Don live in Peston Black, a luxury resort. After 67 years together, Don died in 2015, leaving Mary a lasting memory. Even so, she maintained an active lifestyle, regularly attend the mass, join a daily fitness class, and share the joy with close friends. But everything changed in the 19th of March 2018. At 9:26 a.m., 911 switchboard at Lerner receive an emergency call. Kia sidewire. It's the panicked voice of an elderly woman from Peston Black nursing home. It should have been just a normal day. Jackie is Mary's best friend. I'm on my way to pick her up for a fitness class. However, when Jackie arrived, Mary is not standing outside as always. I noticed that the door was slightly open and Jackie pushed the door in. And then Jackie was shocked to see Mary lying motionless in bed. Lo came to you trying to shake in despair, but Mary didn't react. In a panic, Jackie immediately called 911 in the hope of saving my friend's life. As soon as the first responders arrived, they checked on Mary's condition. Meanwhile, a police officer at the scene announced the news to your son, Mr. John Pather. John and his family were in a state of shock. They're not just worried about Mary making it, but they're confused about what happened and the reason behind it. In her 90s, Mary still maintains an active lifestyle, regular exercise, socialize widely, and live completely independently. She also had no history of medical concern. Suddenly, Ms. Berry woke to the astonishment of the emergency team. She slowly raised her hand to the police officer standing nearby. I point my finger as if to say something important. And then they realized that her wedding ring was gone. John shared that my mother always wore that ring. It never left her hands even when she went to sleep. The ring is missing. There's definitely something unusual going on. The whole family immediately searched the entire apartment. But what's more shocking is that it's not just the ring that's gone, that all of Mary's precious jewels also evaporates without trace. Sergeant Brian Frank, I was reminded of a previous announcement from the police chairman. A series of deaths involving the elderly. Hundreds of older women have died over the years. Many cases, the victims died and their property disappeared. But these deaths have never been thoroughly investigated. Now they realize the seriousness of the situation. Mary Pastel. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. As long as you wake up and tell the police what happened, they have a chance to solve this case. Waiting for Mary to recover, the police decided to review similar cases, and they found that most of the major attacks on women, they have been stealing property over the years. They all have amazing similarities. It was about 6 months ago that Helen Lee's case happened. Helen is 82 years old, lives about 9 miles from Mary, at the prestigious Park of Frisco nursing home in Texas. She's been a seamstress for over 45 years. Before retirement, here she befriended someone who lived in the same nursing home. Marilyn. Helen's lived on the 3rd floor of the nursing home. Enjoy a peaceful life with friends. Sometimes my niece will visit me. Marilyn lives on the 1st floor. However, the stairs in the building, it's always unlocked. No cameras are installed. according to a report from the nursing home. On September 1st, Helen and Marilyn went about their business as usual. But on Sunday, September 3rd, Helen didn't go to church as usual. It made her niece feel insecure and decided to check in. My niece told me, "I saw her in the bedroom with the stick right next to it." Just a few weeks later, Highland and Marilyn, he was found dead in his apartment. In the beginning, the deaths of these two older women didn't make the hour. I suspect they're all over 80. So dying in a nursing home, it seems like a normal thing. The authorities quickly concluded the cause of death was a natural disease and didn't do an autopsy. But neither of the two families felt that way. Both Helen and Marilyn were found lying flat, with a carefully arranged posture. The bruises on their arms and the glasses are completely twisted upside down. Make their families suspicious. This is not natural death. When asked about these things, the police insisted Helen and Marilyn died of natural causes and that AI just accidentally tried to steal their jewelry. They died. However, as thefts continued to increase, the local police were forced to investigate and detect a suspicious sequence of events. Over the years, series of older women, they were all found dead under similar circumstances, and they all lost their precious jewels, wedding ring, gold chain, Rolex watch. The total value of stolen items, it's over $500,000. The time of loss coincides with the time of death, prove that the victims didn't just die of natural causes. Then the property was stolen. A police officer said, "Normally, there are only about 3 deaths per year in Tradeston, Westernwood, but only for 3.5 months. There's been a series of CA deaths in a row. It's about losing jewelry." Instead of issuing an alarm, the police did not act. From 2016 to hundreds of CA deaths of the elderly at senior nursing homes are under investigation. The number of unattended CA deaths can be up to 700 or even more. Throughout the years, nursing home management there's still no clear move, while the victim's family is still searching for answers. They contact Mondo Soncht, Director of Community Relations at Tredison Presena, to ask about the lost jewels. However, in the face of overwhelming questions, his attitude is rapidly changing. The answer is short and poetic. "I can't accept that coldness. The old people who live in nursing homes have acted on their own. They put up warning posters, notification of thefts, and encourage people to lock their doors in self-defense. But these posters were quickly taken down by management because they haven't been approved, and it can be confusing to others. Management's indifference and their avoidance of the problem. This makes the victim's family more suspicious." Manda Sanchez once claimed, "Kaz died simply from a sudden heart attack. He said they just fell and died." Last after series of complaints fall 2016, the detectives decided to investigate and summon Manda Sanchez to the police interrogation station. Detective Alan Bankeller recounted, "The Manda's behavior during the interrogation was unusual. When asked about lost items, he just blames the paramedics or assumes that 7 jewelry lost during the cleaning of the room. The sergeants were immediately called in to check surveillance camera systems at all nursing homes. It's amazing. The number of cameras is extremely small, especially at Son Black. On the 3rd floor for nursing homes with absolutely no monitoring system, it means that most of the entrances and exits are not tracked. This makes sneaking, get in and out without being detected, it's easier than ever." The police tried everything they could to find a clue. They even conducted interviews. Medical personnel are at the scene, but in addition to the lost jewels, they don't have any artifacts. They don't have any specific suspects. The investigation quickly came to a standstill. Medical personnel were also removed because they only touch bodies when they're covered. And finally, this case is closed, without any results at all. But everything changed in the 19th of March 2018, when the grandmother was 9 years old. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Your case, it's identical to other incidents in the last 2 years. But this time, Marie survived. It could give the police a lot of important clues to solve the case. On the morning of March 29, 2018 at Preston Black, everything seems to be going normally. Mary sits in the apartment in front of the computer screen to the kids. About 8:30, a sudden knock on the door. Mary thought it was Jackie, to go to gym class with her. But as soon as the lock is open, a tall man threw a flag in. In a panic, Mary tried with all her might to hold the door, but her strength is over 90. "How can I compete with a tall man?" He quickly overwhelmed her and pushed her into the house. Mary immediately noticed something unusual. This person is wearing green rubber gloves. That means your life is in danger. He asked Mary to lie down on the bed. Quick hand grabbed a pillow and pressed hard on Mary's face. She tried to fight back. But your strength is nothing compared to him. In the midst of despair, she reached out and touched the alarm button on her neck. But her arms were clenched. Mary lost consciousness. At that moment, the door opened again. This time, the one who actually walked in was Mary's friend. Invite her to exercise. Horrible scenes appear before our eyes. Mary lies motionless, unresponsive, in a strange position. Marie's friend immediately called Hope for a timely rescue. Over the ambulance, with a little strength left, Marie tried to give the police details about her attacker. Thanks to these accurate descriptions, we quickly started the witness review, including the staff in the nursing home. They found multiple reports of a suspicious man. They frequently appear around the area. Has characteristics that match Mary's description. He went to the 4th floor several times. I was there to check for a water leak. He's 7 or 8 meters tall, weighs about 8.5 pounds, carrying a handbag. It's the same time that Mary was attacked. The police received a report about a stranger loitering around the car in the nursing home parking lot for many hours. The caller recorded the license plate, and when the police checked, they found out the car belonged to a guy named Billy. 46-year-old Billy perfectly matches Mary's description. Through camera check, he often shows up as a nurse, plumber, maintenance worker, and many other roles. Now, detectives are starting to recognize the strategy. Take advantage of old uniforms from previous jobs to infiltrate the nursing home, taking advantage of an unattended door. When digging deeper, the police found that he had a history of suspicious behavior, including allegations of drunk driving. Especially in 2016, Billy was arrested for pretending to be a maintenance worker to break into the nursing home. March 2018, just one day after the Mary attack, the police found a suspicious car appeared at WorldMart supermarket 9 kilometers from Mary's apartment on the day of the incident. At 2:30 p.m., security camera records Billy walking around in supermarket. If you look closely, you can see that he's following you. An older woman, wearing a red shirt that mimics her every move. Billy watched her through the lines for over 20 minutes. When the woman leaves the supermarket and goes back to her car soon after. She didn't know the suspicious car, and the man from WorldMart is still stalking her. Get out of the parking lot. It's scary when you think about just one day of shopping. You can be monitored at home. It's 5:50 p.m. the same day. The police finally found Billy's car. The driver perfectly matched the description of the suspect. They quietly followed the car as it enters an apartment complex. Billy stops in front of a trash can, step down and throw something in, while a group of officers continue to chase the suspect. The other group checks the trash. Here, they found a bright red jewelry box that had been pricked open. There are some precious items left inside. The same card with Harris' name on it. The police quickly looked up his identity and it's a Vietnamese woman. The 81-year-old lives less than 2 miles away. Now the race against time officially begins. They decided to go to her place to check. Upon arrival, a neighbor said he saw her at 4:30. Not long before the police arrived. Notice the situation. The police immediately broke through the door and rushed in. They're late. The woman, identified as Harris, has just been murdered. Ms. Harris' apartment initially showed no signs of being broken unusual. However, the police officer found her jewelry box in the trash. All the evidence shows Billy is the mastermind of a string of murder cases. This robbery led to the pursuit of a serial killer. It's even more violent now. Meanwhile, the police are still following in the footsteps of Billy, determined not to spare. And finally, an hour later, police successfully arrest Pelion Bebier at his apartment in Dallas. According to sources, suspect Billy, after his arrest, was detained at the Dallas County Jail with the forced first-degree murder. In the process of verification, he kept telling the police he was innocent and completely unaware of what's being said. However, when the detective presents irrefutable evidence, his attitude quickly changed. In the apartment of Billy in Dallas, the police found many cell phones, fake passport gloves, and many of the jewelry belonged to the previous victim. Out when the police carry pictures of Billy online to the local pawn shops and jewelry stores, a shopkeeper of Diamond Angong Essing immediately recognized patrons. through security tapes. Billy appear in the store with a dense frequency. Every time he came, he laughed. Catch hand. Describe yourself as a legal beer and seller of jewelry by visiting many pawn shops, diamond shop, and even various online platforms like eBay. The lie is thought to have making more than $100,000 selling jewelry. However, the actual numbers may be far beyond what the police imagine. April 2020 to second trial of Belly officially takes place, after the first trial for Ms. Harris' murder was over, without reaching a verdict. This time the court focused entirely on Harris' death, although Belly is suspected of at least 18 murders. The prosecutor confirmed this is the case with the most compelling evidence. Harris was the last victim. He was killed just an hour before his arrest. Even on the first day, testimony of Mary Battle, the only one to survive Bella's attack, replayed in court. With the description, the gruesome details and images she recounted, the horror she faced, is vividly portrayed, that everyone present couldn't help but be shocked. After 45 minutes of discussion, smeared jury finds Billy guilty of first-degree murder with a life sentence. Mrs. Harris's family was finally relieved. Even though she was gone, justice was finally served. In the next week, the families of 22 other victims were invited to court. Directly with Belli, the 10th of July 2022, Belli was convicted of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison for the second time. That he'll never have a chance to harm anyone one more time. In this case, you can see the level of police in the area. They're really irresponsible and subjectively before the death of that AI. Fortunately, Mary tried to describe the killer so that he doesn't hurt anyone else. Without Mrs. Mary, what terrible thing could happen next? This no one knows. What do you think?